how would you like to make your first million? And today we have Jerry Brazie with us, and he's an entrepreneur with over 25 years experience building, buying, and running businesses. Wow, across multiple industries, generated over 400 million in revenue. Coming from extreme poverty and adversity, Jerry brings a rare mix of real world grit, hard-earned perspective, very good, and straight talk leadership to conversation about business, life, and resilience. So, Jerry, tell us, what are the 5 steps that you recommend entrepreneurs in order to make the first million?
Welcome to Unstoppable Podcast with Harry Sardinas, inspiring conversations with influential millionaires, investors, thought leaders, entrepreneurs who are making a massive difference with their innovative products and services, and sharing the challenges and wisdom of how they sold their first million.
So I think step number one would be that you got to say yes before you're ready. So many entrepreneurs put off, or want to be entrepreneurs, put off doing the thing that they want to do until they're ready. And the reality is that you'll never be ready.
I love it.
The Dave Ramsey way of looking at the world, that you have to have every I dotted and T crossed, is just not true. I have known hundreds of entrepreneurs in my lifetime. I have worked with hundreds. I have intimate knowledge of companies that have gone from zero to hundreds of millions of dollars. And I have 50 or 70 millionaire friends that I have consulted with over the years that have ran their businesses. And not a single solitary one of them have ever started their business, who started it from scratch, when they were ready. It is a burn the ships, jump right in. You cannot prepare for becoming an entrepreneur. You can't save enough money. You can't learn enough things. You can't take enough seminars. You can't listen to enough YouTube videos. The only way you can do it is that you have to jump in. Things will never be perfect. Opportunities will pass you by while you're waiting. The timing is never good. The money won't always be there. You'll always have way more than you can do. And the reality is that you never figure it out until you commit. And I always use the example, if somebody was holding a gun to your mother's head, and if you didn't drop what you were doing right now, or if you didn't keep doing what you're doing right now, but go start a business at night in the off hours and working 18-hour days, but again, that gun is at your mother's head, would you be able to do this thing that you're trying to overcome before you've ever even done it? Right? And of course you could. Right, you absolutely would be able to. So in that context, I would say that that's the number one thing, is people wait because they are scared.
They're a big fan. Yeah, number two.
Yeah, number two. So everybody wants to have this structure built before they've ever even done anything. And that's just not how it goes either. You want to sell, get what you want sold, do that job, and then build around it. So for me, I went and sold a bunch of business before I had any idea how to do it when I started my first companies. I didn't know what cash flow was. I didn't know what cash flow was. I didn't know what interest rates were. I had no idea what I was doing, but I knew how to sell, and I knew how to sell customers. Now, it turns out that I had to learn how to sell profitably. I didn't know how to do that, but I knew how to sell. My first company did $4 million. We did 4 million, 8 million, 12 million, and $14 million in our first 4 years.
Oh, wow.
And along the way, I was learning how to sell and sell profitably. But for me, I went and got the work and then figure out how to do it. If you figure out how to do it and then go to work, just like waiting to figure out how to start a business instead of just going and doing it, you're going to hamstring yourself. So find the customers and then get the work, figure out how to get the work done. And you didn't hear me say figure out how to get the work done profitably. I didn't say that. I said get the customers and then figure out how to get the work done, then figure out how to get the work done profitably, because this is a huge learning experience that you have to go through. And the sooner you can figure that out, the better. And there are steps to it. It's very difficult. It's easy to sell business. It is hard to sell profitably. And so you have to learn this in steps. And it's very hard to go from step 1 to step 3 without doing step 2, at least I believe.
Yeah, 100%. And what I said, Jerry, Mike said, everything goes to plan until you receive the first punch.
It's totally true, and that
Exactly.
is
You
you
can
can
have the
plan.
best plan when you receive the first punch.
It's
Forget
all
about.
over.
So what's the point to waste time in planning? Well, we will expand a little bit more. It's not wasting time, but I think they're very remarkable. Your so far, I'm a big fan of them. So keep going.
Number three, I would say is, and again, the advice that I give after all of my experience, hundreds of millions of dollars in revenue, dozens of businesses, I have made more money than I ever could have imagined. I have also lost more money than I could have imagined. So I don't want to make it sound like this is all upside and not any downside. It is a slog, particularly COVID. COVID almost wiped me out after 30 years of working. So it is a slog. Business is difficult, but so my approach and my opinion and my thoughts come from the perspective of someone who has done that, who's been there, and is still doing it. I'm running 3 companies right now. My brand new one's a Kronos Group, a new peer-to-peer group that I've started, and I have one 8-figure company and one 7-figure company. So I'm still operating as we speak. So that's where this advice comes from. And number 3 is work in the business and on the business. So there is a whole bunch of people on the internet that are going to tell you that you're not supposed to be working in your business and you're wasting your time working in your business and you're supposed to be working on your business. So you let everyone else do the work and you're watching it from above and you're selling and you're just kind of on the business. And I can tell you, as someone who, again, has built 1,000 companies and knows a lot of startups and has worked with a lot of entrepreneurs, not a single one of them doesn't work in and on the business. That's why it's a 12 to 15 to 18 hour workday. That's why it's such a slog. I'll give you an example. I have a customer that 25 odd years ago, right after I started my business, I answered the phone on Saturday afternoon. I was the third customer or the third provider that she called. And because I answered the phone and it was a personal thing that she needed, she called me, or I answered the phone. That customer has done $15 million in business with me over the last 20 odd years, simply because I answered the phone and I was number 3. She didn't call me first or second, but I was the only one that answered the phone on a Saturday. So it's 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Again, the ships are burnt. You have no choice. That gun is at your mother's head. You're going to work in that business and on that business and beside that business and inside of that business. There's no 2 ways around it. So I don't want anybody to fool themselves thinking that it's as simple as I'm going to work on it and the people are going to go do the work. Ain't the way it works. I've never seen it work that way. You're going to find people who have started from scratch online. You'll find social media influencers that have huge businesses, hundreds of millions of dollars in revenue. I believe most of those people, when they get to that level, they forget what it's like on the ground for the guy starting from scratch, because I don't know anyone like that.
100%.
Yeah. And you have the entrepreneurs, the guys that take their picture in front of the Lamborghini they see in the parking lot. I like to say how, I only work half an hour once a week and I make $10,000 a day. All that's all garbage. It doesn't exist. 90% of the advice in my learned opinion is wrong relative to business on social media, 85 to 90%. So you have to have that in mind as you're thinking about becoming an entrepreneur. So number 3, work the business on it and inside of it. So you're talking to customers, you're fixing problems, you're making decisions. That way you develop pattern recognition. You're looking for leverage, things that you can exploit to make more money, things you can fix to run more efficiently. You can't outsource your thinking, your decision making, and your leadership. You got to be in the trenches, learning the operation, talking to customers. Like I said, I do every job. I won't ask anybody to do a job I wouldn't do. And I don't like cleaning bathrooms. That's just my thing. I hate cleaning bathrooms. So from day one, even when I could afford it, I take the money out of my pocket to have somebody else clean the bathrooms, because I won't ask somebody to do something I won't. And I can do every job and I've owned gas stations, convenience stores, car washes, construction companies, development companies, operating transportation companies, you name the job. I can do it for every company I have ever owned. So I'm an on the business and in the business kind of guy. And I would say after 25, 30 years of a dozen businesses and the revenue that I've ran through, I think that my track record speaks for the reality of what you have to do as an entrepreneur.
Yeah. And then, Jerry, what would be the next step?
So number 4 is use debt and pressure as tools, right? Everybody's, so again, back to Dave Ramsey and this whole, wait and save your money until you're too old to become rich, that sort of thing. And that's what it is. There is difficult to start a business and to become successful without using leverage. You have to use debt. And debt is your friend. I've used debt every step of the way. And when times were great, debt helped me grow. When times were ugly, like during COVID, debt worked against me. But over the course of 30 years, for all but about 3 or 4 of them, debt was absolutely my best friend. So you can't be afraid of debt where it makes sense. And you want to use pressure as fuel. So I'm not the kind of guy that says, I got asked earlier on another podcast, how do I deal with pressure? And I said, it's the word that I really use. It's just the realities, because I look at life like I'm a caveman. And I'm in a cave with my family, and I got 2 little kids and my wife, and the fire's burning, and I can put my back to the wall and I can see out the door and I can defend my position really easily. That's great. That's comfortable. It's warm in there, except we got to eat. And if we got to eat, somebody's got to go walk in the tall grass. Somebody's got to go walk through the forest where something can jump up on top of us and take us away. But if I don't go hit that pterodactyl over the head and drag it back to the cave, no one's going to eat, and it doesn't matter how comfortable you are, you're going to die. And so my approach to the world is that superpower, is that perspective that says, this is what the world is like. And so I approach that. So my pressure is to feed my family. And there's nothing more important than feed. My parents are 87 years old. There's nothing more important than making sure my parents are taken care of, making sure my wife of 28 years is taken care of, making sure my 3 children are all taken care of. And so that's all the pressure I need. Everything outside of that just doesn't matter. I've been shot, stabbed, beaten within inches of my life. I lived with hookers and heroin addicts when I was 17 years old.
Wow.
In a $25 a week flop house. I know what suffering is like. I know what pressure is like. And business, adult life pressure is nothing compared to the pressure I put on myself to make sure that my children aren't going to have the same life that I had, to make sure my wife doesn't have the same life that I had, and to make sure that my parents are taken care of in their old age in a way that they just simply weren't able to when I was a kid. So number 4 is, how did I get there? I use debt and I use pressure on me to perform, putting myself out and above anything I thought capable of, sacrificing discipline and taking on the risks that most people would probably curl their toes to just think about it.
Very inspiring, Jerry. And then the last step.
The last one, number 5, is stop doing it alone. But I want to be clear on this one. I am not a fan of partners. So I am not saying partners. I think that most people who start a business, they do it in a partnership. Partnerships work great as long as everyone's struggling. As soon as money starts getting made, partnerships tend to fall apart. Now, I know everybody has an example of one that doesn't, but I'm telling you, it's rare to see a partnership ever work out, right? Because once the money starts being made, everybody starts pointing fingers about who's doing all the work. But I'm not talking about partners when I say don't go it alone. You need to find a mentor. Now, just put it all out on the table. I've just started a new company that does just this, a peer-to-peer group, but it's for a reason. Because when I was 30 years old doing $8 million a year, and I barely knew what an interest rate was, I got approached. I had been written up in the local newspaper, and I got approached by a CEO. He was retired, and he had started this peer-to-peer mastermind group. And I didn't even know what that was. And I'm working 18-hour days, and I'm barely making enough money to survive at that even then. And I said, man, I don't have time. This is great, but I don't have time. He said, you can't afford not to. I said, well, I can't even afford to go. Forget about the time. He said, no, you not to. It's a group of guys, in my case, that got together, and this is a company I'm putting together, 8 to 10 guys, all operators, entrepreneurs are people running companies. And for one day a month, for half a day, you get together and everybody has a half an hour to talk about their business. And then after that, I would get together with the chairman, or in my new group, people get together with me for an hour to kind of go over it every single month. By joining that group, I would not be sitting here today. I wouldn't have done the things I've done. I wouldn't have got to the heights that I got had I not joined that group, because everybody in that group was in their 50s and I was 30 years old. Now, I had the biggest company in many cases, but They had all of the information. I sat there for 2 or 3 years really before I said much of anything because I was just taking it in. I was just learning exponentially from all of these people who had come before me. This is prior to the internet and all the rest of those things. And so you can sidestep and maybe miss out or maybe just touch the mistakes that are in front of you. And I thought, boy, if I can listen and learn, if I could shut up and listen, an epiphany I had at 28 years old before I started my first company, if I could shut up and listen, these guys are going to help me get where I want to get. Doesn't mean I didn't make mistakes, massive 7-figure, gigantic mistakes. Absolutely, I did. But I'm sure it saved me 10 times that amount of money.
Absolutely.
And for sure made me a significant amount of money. So that would be my 5 things.
Wow, I love them, Jerry. The story of my life. Yeah, the more I hear, I hear you relate with my one because maybe people might be listening to this podcast and look, these two, Harry and Jerry, they're crazy. They're saying all the opposite that everybody's sharing the internet. But so let's put a little bit of context so people understand a little bit of logic. And I always share, Jerry, being an entrepreneur is skill-based. The more you practice, the better you become. This is my opinion. Everybody can be a good entrepreneur, right? But in that process, in that practice, yeah, it goes exactly what you said in your step, right? You need to work in, on, and everywhere on the business. Otherwise, it's like driving a car. You need to develop a skill. So if you want to succeed with planning, and I have a lot of debate with this and all my life, right? I'm a speed of implementation guy. I believe this is how I've been since I started my first business, property. We managed to sell over 5 million. I say, okay, I don't know if it's going to make money or not. I don't know. But you know what? If we go in fast and we move fast, quickly, we're going to know if it works or if it's not. Or quickly, we will find out what's the problem and we go and solve it. And Jerry, I agree with you. The advice and the thing that you hear on the internet is all about selling this idea. Okay, your business work on autopilot, or there is no work in the business. The other day, somebody asked me, Harry, is it easy to make money? I said, depends. If you ask me now, it's very easy. I can make a phone call, I make a coaching call, I charge a lot of money, and it's easy now, but I done the job. The hard work is done before. So you need to ask me in what period of life is easy to make money, then I can give you the right answer. If you ask me 18 years ago when I started my first business, same like you, I mean, I didn't have any clue what I was doing. I went to, I was waiting at room service in the Hilton pub in London, and they pay me £1,000, and my rent is like £650. So if I don't get this problem out of my life, I won't be able to live. So then I started property business. Well, I rent out the room, so then I don't have to pay my rent, and then I escape the business. And out of survivor, I become an entrepreneur, I would say. And Jerry, I was learning around the way, all the mistakes, exactly. Some business went good, another business was total disaster. And the more you have COVID that come and again, and you think, oh my God, the story repeat and repeat again, and what? So, on the other hand, Jerry, I'm glad you talked this thing. The people, and this is, I want your advice on that for entrepreneurs, because I think the way that entrepreneurs, they are finding the mentors and the coaches, they go to the internet and they find someone that have a Lamborghini and a Ferrari, and they say, oh, that's going to be my business mentor. And telling, okay, building business, there is no hard work. This is very easy. You work on the business only. Everything works for you. You don't have to do anything. You will end up with this Lamborghini. And so you put that type of content, and then without knowing, or the entrepreneurs or people being entrepreneurs, they say, oh, that's great. That's what I want for my life. That's the mentor or the coach that I have. And I think that, so you tell me a little more, Jerry, why do you think that we have this huge flow? Because then after what happened is the opposite side. They pay a lot of money, they get very little value, and they say, you know what? Coaching, mentorship, mastermind, I won't pay anything, never again. This thing doesn't work. And they will be missing out big time, because same like you, I've been in the mastermind. Can you believe that I was running this business by myself? I managed to save millions, and I didn't knew entrepreneur. I was doing everything by myself. And then I went to a mastermind. I thought that I invented my business, Jerry. And after 4 or 6 years that I went to a mastermind, I didn't even know what marketing was, the concept. I learned there, wow, marketing is how you bring the clients. Oh my God, I thought that I was posting internet, and I thought that I invented my business. And when I went to a property mastermind, I find out there were a lot of people that have my same business and way bigger than me. Yes. So I didn't know any of this. I was the same like you in a cave, trying to go out there. So tell us what advice for entrepreneurs trying to hire the mentor and a coach, what they should be looking at for really they want to grow the business. Okay, if and in sense what we're sharing here, I mean, look at your track record with that track record that you have. And with the experience that I have, and they think that, well, we are talking crazy and they're going to be talking another thing. Well, so tell us the good, the bad, of the ugly of what true message do you have for entrepreneurs out there, and what is the food that they're making when a mentor and a coach?
I'm going to story. I was working a set of brothers a few years ago, and they had found me to consult with their business, and they were doing some auto parts things and upgrading some vehicles in California. And the one brother reached out to me and he said, hey, can you help me? And I said, absolutely. And they ended up getting a bigger building and then an even bigger building, but they weren't sure about what to do. And I had mentioned to them that here's what, go get the bigger building, because any building I ever moved one of my companies into, I was like, this building's so big, I'm never going to fill it up. And then 6 months later, the building's full and I had to go find another building. So I started buying bigger and bigger buildings because you're like, I'm never going to do it. So that knowledge that I had, I passed on, and ultimately they moved twice. They ended up keeping their old facilities for storage. The business took off. Everything was great. And I was, I don't know, maybe a year and a half later, working with them 2 hours later or 2 years later. And the older brother comes in and he says, you know, Jerry, we're paying you whatever, $500, $550 an hour to consult with us on the business. It's not an insignificant cost. Why is that worth it? This is after all of the work has been done and the business had taken off. And I said, well, and I didn't get pissed. I don't get upset. I said to him, well, I'll tell you what, you could go and you could start your own business at 28 years old. You could do the hundreds of millions of dollars. You could live through the lawsuits and the nightmares and the sleepless nights and the $200,000 payrolls due on Monday and I have no money in the bank on Friday. You can buy and sell and build and fix and operate and hire and do all of the things that I have done over the course of all of that revenue and all of those companies and all of those mistakes and all of the money I lost and all of the money I made. You can go do that for 25 years, or you can pay me $550 an hour to help you figure out how not to do it. And that is, on a consulting basis, exactly the sort of advice that you're looking for. The world is full of young, I would stay away from young people in particular. Sorry, young guys, but you just don't have the breadth of information yet. You cannot learn what you need to know about helping business owners from a book. You can't learn what you need to do to help business owners from watching videos, taking tutorials, doing internet seminars. You cannot learn what you need to know about business graduating from the best Ivy League schools with a business degree. I have never hired, of all the 10,000 odd people I've had work for me, I've never looked at a resume. Or excuse me, I've never looked at where they went to school. I could care less. It meant nothing to me. I want to know what they've done. And I will take sense and street smarts over book smarts 10 times out of 10 and twice on Sunday, because that's where the real value is. So you have to find somebody with experience. So you got to be picky. I go to the gym. I work out all the time. I lost 100 pounds 4 years ago, and I've not looked back. I'm in the best shape of my life at 56
wow,
years.
100 pounds.
Oh yeah, I really, wow. I just turned, I was dying I was having 100 mini heart attacks in a hospital room. I was down 4 pints of blood in November of 21. I was 310 pounds, and I said, that's enough.
Wow.
So I went and lost 100 pounds in 8.5 months, put on a bunch of muscle. I work out 6 days a week. I've never felt better in my life. I've never had more energy at 56 in my entire life. And so
how old were you when you have all the...
I was 50. I was
wow.
hit, so January 5th, and I was addicted to opioids because I broke my back when I was 19 years old. So I have a 25-year opioid addiction because the pain in my back was so bad I couldn't walk 100 yards. That was on November of 21. I'm laying in the hospital, Williamson County here in outside of Nashville, Tennessee. I decided, no, this is not me. It's a long story, but I said, this is not me. I got this 40% block in my left ventricle that I was born with that I didn't know about, that popped up when I was 38 years old, and my health started going down after that. And finally I said, I'm going to live, and I'm going to live by bucking everything that the system was telling me and everything I saw to do. And I did exactly the opposite. I only eat meat. I only ate 1,800 calories a day. I went for a walk even though I couldn't. And within 5 months, I was down about 50 pounds, but more importantly, I was walking 5 miles a day without stopping. I couldn't walk 100 yards without sitting down twice prior to that. The pain down my was so bad. The point being, when I went to get in shape, I didn't go ask a fat person how to get in shape. I didn't go ask an out of shape person how to get in shape. I went and found someone that was in shape, someone that was my age, that looked like I would like to look, that had a healthy lifestyle that I wanted to have. And that's who I went and talked to, because what good does it do me to go talk to somebody that looks like I do? I want to find somebody that looks like what I want to look like. And so context from a business perspective, you've got to find somebody with experience. But here's the problem. Here's why finding somebody with experience is difficult, because people like us, people like me, tell you the sunshine and the rainbows and the unicorns. I don't sell you that, right? In business,
Señor, reality.
I don't care what you do well in business. I don't care what I do well. I only care what I don't know. What don't I do well? Because that's where which I do well will take care of itself. What I don't know is the problem. That self-assessment is very important for an entrepreneur. That's a different subject. In terms of finding that person, that coach, that's why these groups are so important, because you want to get in with somebody who has operated, somebody who knows, right? Doesn't do you any good to go along with people who are learning like you are. You want the person that's got all the scars, that's all beaten up, right? That's been through the wars. Unfortunately, that person's got to be 40, 50 years old, because it takes that amount of time to get to that point. Here's how I describe it. Let's say it's a 10 gig hard drive. We all got a 10 gig hard drive. Well, if you're like me and you were 25, 30 years old, while I had a 10 gig hard drive like everybody else, right? In reality, it was probably 2 gigs of the 10. Now at 57, let's say it's 8 gigs of the 10, right? So I'm up here. But the reality is at 25, 30, I thought I was at 8 out of 10. And now at 56, I think I'm 2 out of 10. Right? I think I've got a lot to learn. So the older we get, the more experienced and mature we get, the more we figure out how little we know. When you're younger, when you don't know anything, you think you know everything. Being self-aware of that and having that self-assessment and the wherewithal, that's why I said at 28 years old, I had an epiphany that told me to just shut up and listen. You don't know anything. And I got rid of all my friends. I quit hanging out at the bar. But all we did is watch sports, play sports, watch people playing sports while drinking at the bar, watching sports, talking sports, and playing sports, right? That was my whole life, and work. And so then I said, man, if I want to get out and beyond in all of this, I have to go find people who don't think like I do, who think like an entrepreneur, accountants maybe, or they don't think like entrepreneurs, but who can teach me the skills I need to think like an entrepreneur. So I found people that were smarter than me, and then I shut up and listened. So I left all my friends behind. When you're looking for a coach, you got to go be uncomfortable. You got to find people who will confront you. You got people who will tell you the truth. There is no money to be made in sugarcoating. There's also no money to be made in emotion, right? Business is an analytical endeavor. I have taught my managers forever, change today what we changed yesterday if needed. And we're going to change tomorrow what we changed today if needed. And no. I spent all this effort and all this energy
and
all
the
this
companies money. With the legacy, how many times they maybe, Harry, can you do this talk because we have the legacy problem,
That's right.
And because people just don't want to change and say, look, in the end of the day, Jerry, the thing is nonsense, okay? And you touch one part, which is very important. I want to expand a little bit more, which is the ego, right? Because especially me, like when I started the business, at the beginning, I started to make some money, right? Then we all entrepreneurs, we all have ego. And this is for sure because we think that we can do better, right? So the ego is there. Now, The problem is when this ego takes control, okay? And then it was, I remember it was in my mindset, that was a big deal. I'm the big deal. Everybody had to do what I say. I'm a big boss here and so on. And you know what happened, Jerry? So I opened the property business. Then I have another property, which is in English school, was successful also. And then I thought that was the king of the world. And then I opened a restaurant in Brick Lane and call it Harry Spanish Tapa. Imagine how bad I was in this. That, you know, if you have a Spanish restaurant, thinking now, if you call it Lola, Pepe, how are you going to call it Harry? So I call it Harry Spanish Tapas. In Brick Lane, lost 200,000 pounds, lost my girlfriend that I have. Then all my friends went away and disappeared. And I'm thinking, oh, I did. I was thinking, Harry, apparently you did something that was not good, because everybody. So then you realize that when I talk to people about master and business and administration, I always tell you want the best master and business and an MBA that you can have. Open a restaurant in a very polluted, in a very busy area like I did in London, in Brick Lane. You will have no master. You will have PhD in business if you manage to just break even for 2 years there. So sometimes, Jerry, the worst things that happen in business, the worst day of your life become the best day of your life. And sometimes I learn more out of this failing, way more about business than of the other 2-3 business that I had at the time that they were successful. So tell us what have been your biggest challenges and how you become that challenges. And again, what is the message for the young entrepreneurs?
Well, I to go, you were just saying, it's business and being an entrepreneur is lonely. That's the other thing about joining a group. Get a mentor. Either the Kronos Group is mine, Kronos, the kronosgroup.org. Go check it out. There are a lot of groups just like it. I'd love for people to join mine. But find a community, find a mentor. It's not your parents. It's not your brother. It's not your wife. It's not your friend. That's not what I'm talking about. You need to find somebody who has been through it like you have been through it, because to your point, in particular, when times are tough, you have no friends. And the friends that you do have are typically the ones who told you at the beginning you should have never started anyway. See, I told you so. But people tell you I told you so because they don't want you to do better than them. Because if you do better than them, now the onus is back on them to perform. So you got to understand why people tell you that in the first place. They are loath to tell you, well done, and I'm happy for your success. They are happy to be jealous of you and your success and to go quiet, but they love to tell you, I told you so, when you fail. So every entrepreneur thinks also that these problems are just their problems. I've talked to hundreds of entrepreneurs. Everyone thinks the mistakes they're making are the only ones that they're making. So they don't want to reach out because the internet shows, again, snapping shots with the smart. And the reality is every entrepreneur is sitting at his desk, just getting ready to cry, trying to figure out how to make this thing work, like every other entrepreneur. So I think that is an absolute critical part to all of this as an entrepreneur or a prospective one, is understanding that it's going to be a absolutely lonely race. And you need to get your head around that and not be somebody that needs to have their back scratched or job. And that would be exactly who I am. A good manager also, you talked about ego. A good manager, I always say I have a big ego, but I'm humble. I don't forget where I come from. I don't forget that background. That perspective is absolutely a superpower for me. And I have a big ego, and it manifests itself in this way. I want you, if you work for me, I want you to do what I want you to do and think it was your idea. As long as what I want done, as long as what gets done, I don't care whose idea it is.
I love it.
I don't care who gets it doesn't matter to me at all. It's all yours. I could give you the idea. I could lay it out for you. You might have just typed it up, implement it, and go out there, and everybody's like, well
and
done.
And if it works,
back and go,
amazing.
I'm happy for you. What's the next thing that I get to go deal with? Because I have no ego. I don't need somebody to say, hey, look what a great job you did. I want people to say what a great job that person did, because that's going to make the company run better. It's going to make me more money.
Exactly. And that's the result. At the end of the day, this is how we need to see our role. I'm glad to talk about this. Leadership is to our team is to every time to find out how can we make the job more easy for them? How can we facilitate that and be happy when they are when my first business, the property business, when I started to hire people, they were all better than me at everything. I was shocked. I was telling everybody, I was so happy that so you won't believe myself, man. They're selling the rooms for this price. I couldn't do it. They do it in one day. For me to make 2 weeks. They are amazing. So I was so happy with my typical league. When they came to when business grew and then I need to hire people. Wow, when they start to show up, I realized again, Jerry, that I thought that I knew about my business and I knew to do the particular task in my business. When I started to bring people, sales and all the different, I realized that wow, the whole point here is always to have people more smarter than you, more than you in a particular task, just and to give them to support them. Okay, which is been I had to have this internal transformation within my company because at the beginning when I'm thinking that a big deal and everybody and I run everything was exhausting. I was tired. I was fat. Because I didn't have time. I was eating only in the evenings and a lot of food from the restaurant because this they all to save time. So for me to save time, I will wake up 6 a.m. and then I will start from the computer, work. I had to do everything. Everything had to be run by me. So I finished 10 p.m. so hungry and so exhausted I cannot even move. So I called the restaurant. And the restaurant, one was Chinese, I'm telling you, in London, close to Canary Wharf, and the other one was an Indian restaurant. And I just said, I'm Harry. I didn't even have energy to say what I want to eat. So they knew that the number in the menu, yesterday I ordered 56, tomorrow is 57. So they know in the restaurant, they will send me whatever was next. That's how I was. So imagine how healthy this is that, they will send me the next number in the menus. So who cares if it's meat, if it's not meat, if it's salad, if it's not salad. So to save time and to operate like that. And that egocentric way that I have, I didn't know any better, didn't have any mentor, didn't know nobody in my business, in my family is an entrepreneur. My friends, they're non-entrepreneur, they're all employees. When I go out with them the first time, they say, look, I'm doing this business. Nobody cares. So I'm thinking, oh my God, I lost all my friends also. Because what's the point to go out with these people? They just clearly, they don't care. They couldn't care less. I didn't have a space to speak after I started my business. It's, right. I agree with you. You become lonely. You are in your cave, okay? Especially when you're starting, you don't have any mentor, and it's tough. It's tough because I'm being there. And maybe one of the reasons that I do this podcast is for that, because we don't want. We're trying to do this, and I can with the resources that I have. We don't want that for entrepreneurs out there. We want them to grow, but also, Jerry, we want them to be wealthy, healthy, and happy. Something that. At the beginning, when we are young, we want the business to succeed, and this is our priority. Whether now that we get into a certain age, I'm thinking a lot of coming, Harry, I have this multi-million-pound deal, let's do it. And I say, hold on, what is it gonna take? Because I need my time to play tennis, I need to walk in the park, I need to do I need to have time to prepare my own salad, and I'm very careful what I eat. I'm still, trying to lose more weight, right? I'm like, I want to be like 10 kilos lower than what I am right now. And again, so tell us about the secret. And Jerry, tell us if there is any time in your life, you said that you were overweight at some point, that you realized that, hold on, I'm running this business. This business is not running me. And if I continue like this, the business literally is going to kill me, because that's almost what happened to me. At some point, I have to become a leadership. I have to start to hire people, because I'm thinking, these people are going to kill me. I have 177 clients and all the employees, and everybody asking me questions, and everybody wanted to talk to me. And there were so many, and they didn't care. My tenants, if they need to speak with me at 3 a.m., they wanted, because, if they knew that was Harry, that can let them to bring the friend, to bring the family, to leave early, to whatever. They knew that if they speak with me, that could be solved. And I'm thinking, these people are going to kill me. We're not going to sleep. If I tell them I call me tomorrow, say no, how to be today, I call you at 3 a.m. I say, well, yeah, but so tell us about when you realized that, hold on a minute, I'm running this business, the business is running me. If I continue like this, the business literally gonna kill me.
I'm going to be honest. I don't think that way. When I was 19 years old, I got mugged behind a bowling alley, and they put a 10-inch screwdriver in my back. They were going for my liver. I turned the right way,
Wow.
and it stuck. And I was able to get out of that, and I got in my crappy little car that I promised 550,000-mile Datsun V210, 1972. I didn't realize I had a 10-inch screwdriver hanging out of my back till I got in the car. I got to work the clutch. I got to get home. I got to pull that screwdriver out of my back. It took me about 5 hours laying in the bathtub. It wasn't bleeding profusely, so I knew I wasn't going to die. I pulled it out. I wrapped it up. Monday morning, I went to work, pulling carpet out of in a carpet warehouse for carpet installers to go install. I tell you that story because when I was 14 years old, I got beat within an inch of my life. They stole a hat. When I was 13 years old, I went blind in my right eye. My sister died the same year. I mean, I have this story that just compounds on top of compounds. I am who I am and where I come from, and because of where I come from. So because of all of those things that I went through, I am who I am. And so
absolutely,
I always believe I'm going to come out on top. And anytime negative thoughts come in, I work very hard to push them out. I am not the guy that says I don't have negative thoughts. 100% I do. When I wake up in the morning, I got to go to the gym at 6:30 and it's cold like it is now in Tennessee. I don't want to get out of bed more than anybody else does.
Who
right?
wants?
When I got at midnight, I don't want to, because it's in another country. I don't want to take that call at midnight, but I do, knowing I got to be up at 6 o'clock in the morning because that's what I have to do. So it doesn't mean I don't hire people. I've had management group has been together with me now for 20, 25 years, many of them. My managers have lasted, decades with me over the years. It doesn't
mean they work with me even in separate business. They've been in one business, I open another business.
Yes.
Sometimes the people stay in the same.
Yes, they just keep coming. That's right. And so I don't want to make it sound like I don't use people and people don't have responsibilities and all of those things, but I don't use words. You want to talk about burnout, live with hookers and heroin addicts when you're 17 years old in a $25 a week flop house. Wow. And let me know what your life is like, which is what my life was like. So I understand hardship and pain, stealing food as a kid. I never forget that. So how bad is my burnout going to be? The business that supports the lifestyle that I am affording my wife and children. I mean, my kids went to Chinese school from 3 years old until 5th grade. They read, write, and speak Chinese fluently. Then I sent them to Catholic school they get that experience. And then I sent them to Christian school so they get that experience. That's so far removed from a homeless Jerry. Right? There is nothing that anyone could do to me. There's nothing that business could throw at me that it might slow me down a little bit, but it's not going to stop me. So my brain does not forget where I come from, and I always put things into perspective. And so I just don't think like that. My brain doesn't manufacture. There's just no excuses. I had an epiphany at 14. I took that beating like I talked about. Some guys got me. I was $80 getting it out of the bank, and 4 guys put it to me pretty good. I should have known better. I was a street kid, but they got me. They broke 2 ribs. They broke my nose. And they left me under a bus bench. I wake up, it says August. I wake up a couple hours later. I got blood down my front. Both eyes are black. I got to transfer from one bus to another one. And now I have a 2-mile walk home. I could take you to the square in the sidewalk where this happened in Northeast Portland, Oregon, when I was 14 years old. Because as I'm walking, I thought it came out of this duplex that was next to me. Someone was yelling at me because a voice as clear as yours, only behind me, and it was female, said to me, "Everything is your fault." Now, my nose is broken, my ribs are broke, I got blood down my front, I got black eyes, everyone's looking at me, and this voice says, "Everything is your fault." I turned. This is on my children's eyes. I've told this story 1,000 times, thinking someone was yelling at me out of the duplex as I was walking by it. The reality is it was that voice, cricket, God, Confucius, whatever we want to attribute it to, my subconscious, the fact that I was delirious. It said, "Everything's your fault. If you don't change now, you're going to be in the same position as everyone around you." Where does a 14-year-old street kid get that kind of advice? I don't know. I didn't have anything. It didn't take right away. I have 8 brothers and sisters. My mother had 6 kids when she was 23 years old. 7 years later, I was born. So all my older brothers were all in jail. My sisters were all pregnant. I mean, I knew where I was going. That's the life I had around me. And so in that context, I went home. I held my nose shut for 3 days. It kept opening. That's why I have a little nubbin up here on the top of my nose, because in my day, this was called going to the hospital. You just held things shut. The reality is, the point of the story is, I never forget that. So no matter what business is going to throw my way, I'm going to come up on top, because that pterodactyl has to be beaten over the head and dragged back to the cave, no matter what cost it is to me, because the cost to me doesn't matter, because I have mouths to feed. I have a purpose bigger than me that I live for, and that's my children, and that's my wife, and that's my parents, and that's my job to take care of them. So I think that's the ultimate expression
And
of
the
what being a man
employees,
is.
and the
I'm sorry?
employees, and also the employees, the people that work with us.
Sure, certainly you have
Responsible with them.
employees in that, but at the most rudimentary level,
Mhm.
my wife and my children and my mother and father, those are the ones that those are the ones back at the cave that have to be taken care of. The employees are the ones helping me take down the pterodactyl. And that's important that you have those. But at the end of the day, at the most rudimentary level, this personality that I have, this opinion and this approach to business and life comes from when my first son was born at 28 years old, and it changed my life. And from there, everything I've done goes back to my first son being born. The second he came out, I was a different person than I was the second before he did. And all of everything that I am has been built on the back of that. So if I'm going to allow myself to let business get me down and think that it's going to overwhelm me, I'm not fighting hard enough. I'm not pushing hard enough, because I got enough experience to tell me that I can do this. I just got to figure out how. And the other part of that too is, when you're buried, entrepreneurs, listen to this. When you're buried, it's hard to see out of the hole you're dug in. You need help. So that might mean that doesn't mean you do it by yourself. You got to go, because that hole you're digging is just getting deeper. Somebody needs to be outside that grave giving you some advice, telling you, here's what I think we need to do, and help you through that. So it's real important that you don't get it's all me and I got to do everything. You got to go find help to help you get through that, but you certainly can't turtle. At least that's the way that I approached it.
Yeah, and at the end of you only will be able to grow if you the team. I have that mentality also. Jerry, when I started my business, the beginning, I'm telling you, 18 years ago, I used to have hair back then. So I had this mentality at the beginning, I don't trust anybody. So it was a property business. So how gonna trust my employees with my landlords? Or how gonna trust employees to go inside the houses and they steal from my tenants? So I don't trust mentality. It lasted for a while, a couple of years when I having the business at the beginning, but I realized it. I'm exhausted, but also I won't be able to grow. I cannot grow because I'm doing everything in the business, not only the sales, the maintenance, the repair, the painting, and then they have certain hours. When I acquired, I remember the house, I have my job in the Hilton at the same time as a room service attendant, at the same time partly building my business. And around house 7, it was a case that I didn't have literally time to rent 2 rooms. Every month that I had 2 rooms empty. And while I was busy, and I didn't realize that, hold on a minute, it took me 1 day to rent these 2 rooms, which is £1,000, more or less what I was getting the Hilton to wait the full time for the whole month. And then that was the day that I quit my job like 18 days ago. So look back from that. But at the end of the day, we jump into this culture that is being entrepreneur, and it's important for the young generation, right? That when you're looking for a mentor, for a coach, that experience, because what we describe here is key, right? Being an entrepreneur is not, that's my opinion, it's not talent based. If you can have a talent, if you're a singer, or you want paint art, maybe you might need talent for that. To be an entrepreneur, I believe every single human being can become an entrepreneur,
right.
But it's a skill based, meaning the more you practice, the better you become. So someone that have practice and being an entrepreneur, that's the other question. Last one, Jerry, that I have for you, especially with the tech business, okay? That they come to me, I'm telling you, because you see the entrepreneur like me, you have on multiple business. They every time that I go to advise tech companies how to scale up, they come to me and say, Harry, you don't understand. Tech is different. I'm telling them, I say, guys, you say that tech is different, and I'm telling you, the more I see tech, the more I see that it's have the same parameters that a traditional business. If you don't sell, if you don't have profit, if you don't have, yeah, tech is good for scalability, for scaling and so on. But if there is no business, it won't cut your paper. Eventually, you have to prove that it's a business. To think in that mentality that this is a business. So, Jerry, in your opinion, last question. When people come to you, because I know that you get that a lot, when you want to give advice to an entrepreneur, look, this is my approach, this is how I think that you should be doing about business, they will come and tell you, Jerry, you don't understand, my business is different. So what's your message for everybody out there that tells you at this stage of your life, with all the experience that you have, it doesn't matter which industry, you want to head them out and they tell you, sorry, Jerry, it's just you don't understand, my business is different. So what's your message?
So you don't understand my business is akin to saying my body works differently than yours, right? If today I don't lose weight, or if I eat 3,000 calories a day, I don't lose weight. You know, everyone has an excuse and that they get to hide behind for why their program is different. The basic laws of thermodynamics don't apply to me, right? Like they do to everyone else. So the basic laws of business don't apply to me like they do everything else. There is one difference between a $100,000 company and $1 million company. One difference, a zero. There's one difference between $1 million company and a $10 million company. You get where I'm going.
Oh, I love it. I love it.
Right. It's the same problem. They're just bigger. They're just amplified because you're doing that many more zeros. But the problems are the same. There's no difference between $1 million company and a $10 million company. The problems are exactly the same. They're just exacerbated. They're just that much bigger. So it doesn't matter. Business is business is business, period. It doesn't. So the tech industry, I want to warn everybody that, you know, you read Forbes and Fortune magazine, read, online, CNBC, those startups that you hear are not your startup. That's a very small, tiny, insignificant little group of startups that just has to go unicorn. And there are a lot of the basic technology that we use, but in the context of the 30, here in America, we've got 33 million entrepreneur businesses, roughly 3.5 million of them are the only ones that have employees. So you've got 30 million solopreneur businesses. Not one of those is a tech startup. Not one of those received angel funding, right? Didn't have a Series A or B or C round of funding. Those things don't exist. That is for a tiny little insignificantly small group of businessmen. The rest of us that make up the vast majority of society's economics, us small business owners in America's side of the business, we are the engine. We are the business. It doesn't matter what it is. And if you're one of them tech startups and you got billions of dollars, but you haven't hit anything, you're out of business at some point. And the problem is, what is it? Something like 400 apps get made for every one that makes money. It might be a bigger number than that, right? So there's hundreds and hundreds of apps, but we only hear about the big ones.
Absolutely, that's the issue. We only hear
there's thousands of things on the internet. There's thousands of tech startups that failed. We only hear about the few that make it. That's the reality. There's 1,000 restaurants that start. We only hear about McDonald's, right? But just because there's a McDonald's doesn't mean there's not 1,000 other ones that failed. And you just have to remember that. Back to my adage, every entrepreneur thinks they're the only ones making the same mistake, making that mistake.
And the issue like this, because you see, they read in the press, because in the press is a story. The story, they say, wow, this guy, I have somebody tell me, Harry, you won't believe. This guy make an AI company and raise so X amount of millions. Unbelievable. I want to do the same. I said, look, the number one, check who is this guy. It's not a guy, okay? There is a record, because the VC, the people giving the money, they're not stupid. So if they come out of money for a paper, it's because there is a track record. There is something there that illustrates this. So those are, and because that person have a track record, it's a rare situation, right? It's no the common. The common is start from zero, build it from the ground, sell your product, make profit, pay your developers, expand, and when you have some traction and you can prove that you have a business, then the investor will come, and this is how things are done. This is the reality. You want to be an entrepreneur, this message, Jerry. If you want to be an entrepreneur just to have a Lamborghini and to live this dream, everybody work for you, you do nothing, or you want to be an entrepreneur to actually protect your cave, like you said, and design this as a lifestyle. Because if you really want to do that, okay, welcome to reality, and it's gonna be amazing. Yeah, I won't be any other way. I love every piece of it.
I agree. And
but the bad times, the good times,
that's right. And that's the part that's missing, and that's the part that's lost is if somebody's selling you a project or a program on becoming an entrepreneur, remember they're selling you something. So it's going, are you going to eat a cake that tastes like dirt, or are you going to eat a cake that tastes like chocolate, right? You're going to eat the good one, not the bad one. And the reality is no one's going to buy. If I sold a program that said, come watch my entrepreneur program, being an entrepreneur sucks. It's the worst job, the hardest thing you'll ever do, and you should not do it. Are you going to buy that one? Or are you going to buy the one that says, buy the Lamborghini? What I just described is reality, right? Being an entrepreneur sucks. It does suck. It's not, it's for the very few. But the reality is if they're selling you something that's too good to be true, Harry, you've been around for a while.
No. The entrepreneur is, you see, is counted. It's for everybody. And like I said, right. I love it. Yeah, like I've been 18 years of my life. And like I tell you, have been disasters and failure on the way that if I tell you, you will cry, you know what I mean? But it's just about enjoy it, because at the end of the day, Jerry, without us, nothing moves in society. Until the face is not made, things don't move. Okay, yeah. So and it's our duty to from these talks that we're doing to encourage the entrepreneurs to start the business, to grow the business, but to have common sense and to have reality. Remember what we're talking about. It's a skill, like driving a car. Eventually, when you have the skill, right? If Jerry tomorrow, okay, he can quit all his business and everything, and only consultancy because he already had the skill. Now, this skill takes years.
Yes.
It takes years to develop the skill to become an entrepreneur. And if you don't put that time, if you don't have those failures, if you don't have those success, if you don't have the scaling up, if you don't have those problems, and you don't develop that skill.
The only skill you need is the ability to work hard.
Exactly. You can learn and learn from your mistakes.
If you can't work hard, you'll never make it. But if you can work hard, learn from your mistakes for sure. If you don't have a work ethic, you're not going to make it. That's the one prerequisite that you need to be an entrepreneur. Is you need and the better your work ethic, the better your chances are that you're going to do well. If you have an ungodly work ethic, this again goes back to what does the internet sell you versus what reality is. And reality is it's very hard. It's very difficult. And there's no shortcut around doing that. But if you can work hard, you can learn everything. One more thing, Harry, of all of the money I have ever generated, of all of the profits I have ever made, not a single dime did I earn doing anything I loved. I don't love any of the things that I do. Now, I work passionately, right? But I am not passionate about any of the things that I do. I'm passionate, like I said, about my family and doing better by them and for providing for them. So outside of that, whatever opportunity I had that I thought I could sell somebody something profitably and take a little bit off the top for myself, that's what I did. So this misnomer, you're going to go do what you love and your life is going to be fantastic and you'll never work another day in your life. I don't know what that means. So I work passionately and then I take the profits from those things that I work passionately on and I go spend them on my passions.
Yeah, exactly. when the first business that I had, the property one, I did it for the money. And you know what I realized that, Jerry, just last thing, I was organizing these events, large events in London, property investments, and I had a lot of the speakers. And back in the day, I had my business, and one of the speakers in the green room talked to me and told me, Harry, they clearly were passionate about property. Yeah, they love it. Yeah. And he's behind the green room and told me, Harry, if a tenant called you at 1 a.m. Sunday evening and telling you that the boiler is broken and you need to come out and fix it right now, and you, Harry, get upset with that call, you shouldn't be in the property business. And I'm thinking, maybe I'm not that passionate about property like you guys.
It's okay to say I'm passionate
but
about
I did for the money.
money.
You make money,
I was passionate. I am passionate. I continue to be passionate about money. What opportunities are there available to me? And I'm always looking around because I've lost a lot of money on opportunities. What can I make money on that then I can go follow my passions, which are my family, playing pool, traveling, and my Ford Shelbys. Those are my passions. Anything else, it's how do I sustain those passions. So every dime of money I've ever made, I did not make doing something I loved.
Jerry, why people is in love with our conversation? We have been a little bit controversial. Yeah, maybe some people get angry or upset with what we're saying. Yeah, but maybe some people resonate with what we are just describing today in the broadcast. So if somebody is in love with the conversation, I want to contact you and find out more about you, how this process works, how they can find you. Can you share a little bit of this?
Yes, and to your point, everybody says that's not for me. Just remember, I think you'll agree with me, Harry, I've known at least 1,000 entrepreneurs. I don't know one that has gotten where he's gotten based on what the vast majority of social media tells you should be doing. I don't know one. I only know ones as I've described them, and I know a whole lot of them. So I speak from what I know. Said that, I love the game of business. I do enjoy business. I love the competition of it. I love out-competing other people. I love losing. I love winning. I love every part of it. So if this sounds like something you're interested in, if you're an entrepreneur, $1 to $25 million, go check out the kronosgroup.org, the KRONOS group.org, and just see what it's about. You can go in there, you can schedule a time with me, we can have a conversation about whatever you want. I'm going to pick, if you want to come and talk about joining one of the groups, let's do it. You want to talk about business, let's do it. If you're not there yet, let's do it. Right? I'm happy to talk to anybody about business. Jerry Brazie, Brazie is my name. You can find me on all the socials and look me up there. So whatever way you want to come and talk, I love the game of business, and I'm happy to talk to anybody about it. But I'm real passionate about the Kronos Group and what I'm doing. It's brand new. It's my third business. Like I said, I'm operating an 8-figure business now, a 7-figure business. And this is my third business now that I'm starting up. And probably if I had one that was close to a passion, it would be this one.
Yeah, you will love this one because anyway, this podcast, when I started, Jerry, I was resisting it. And I already interviewed 500 millionaires, all entrepreneurs. And again, the story that you just shared here is the story that we hear from everybody. I haven't heard anybody to say, Harry, you're not gonna believe I designed this product like this, and exactly how I designed it, I made millions. I think no one had come to a podcast to say this. Harry, I invented, then didn't work, then I had to pivot, then this problem. So nobody has come yet to say, you know what, Harry, for me was very easy. I just designed this. And after 3 months, I have a Lamborghini. And since then, my life has been no one. Yeah. And you can join and listen all the broadcasts that we have so far. The thing is what is out there, and one thing is reality. And when you're in business, it's for real. But to make money, otherwise you cannot operate. And what Jerry said, because I've been there and I've been there in this process. You break even, keep going. Eventually, you become profitable. But don't think that from the beginning I'm going to become profitable tomorrow, make a million, because you don't have the skills. It's and
I'll add too that the belong to that I joined when I was 30. We're still together.
Oh wow!
We get together one time a year now.
Wow.
They're all in their mid 70s and early 80s, but we still get together. We still talk. So I don't want to make it sound like it's just for young business owners, if that made it sound like it. This is for if you are at any level, from 30 until 57, I belong to a group through all of those hundreds of millions of dollars. And they've helped me every step of the way. It's easy, particularly when you're making money, man, your head gets big. Things start really good all the way around you. You start thinking you can't make a mistake. You need people around you.
Absolutely.
More importantly, to keep you solid, keep you safe.
Because then they've been there, done it. So you need the big group, especially I know that very lonely journey, and we only understand each other. We only each other. There is no like someone only entrepreneurs, only us. We can help it because nobody else understand. Like I said, the pressure we have and the level of Jerry. Man, I can speak with you for hours. You're amazing. You're brilliant. Yeah, I'm glad that you speak black and white. Yeah.
I think to that end, for entrepreneurs, they shouldn't be scared of me or people that talk like me.
No,
we're not therapists, and business owners don't need therapists. People who are just who have our best interest at heart to help us get there. And the success might be in business, it might be in life, it might be through a divorce, it might be with a wife, children. We've all been there. We all have massive amounts of experience navigating that world of home life and business life. You need people around you in this context that have the experience you're trying to get or that you have, but you're suffering through.
Yeah, last thing, when I started my business, Jerry, I used all my team, they were women. And I remember that saying, Harry hired boys, and I said, look, I'm doing very good with the girls because they're very assertive. When they don't like something, they tell you straight away. And sometimes with boys, they're, everything's okay, let's do it like that. I'm not generalizing, but it's the way the women are, right? And for me, at the beginning of my business, very assertive. So you don't need somebody that, everything's going to be fine. You need to know why because you are in business. And the faster you know what is the problem, the faster you know what is the way that you can attack this problem, the faster you have a touch of reality, the faster you can solve it and move forward. So thank you so much, Jerry. And for all of you following the broadcast, see you in our next episode of Unstoppable, how brave entrepreneurs like Jerry break the wall and achieve the first million. Bye for now.
Follow us for more interviews with world's most influential, audacious entrepreneurs that overcame challenges and adversity, providing you with the blueprint of how they sold their first million so you can grow your business exponentially.